You're listening to the RMPodcast, the official podcast of Red Moon Productions. Here are your hosts, Brandon Davidson, Keith Cheatham, and Sean Sebastian. Enjoy.
Hello and welcome to yet again Tuesday Night Live here on the Red Moon Podcast. Every single Tuesday night at 9 p.m. I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host, Sean Sebastian, and
Ricola.
He's got it, guys. No, not the vid. He's just got a little cough.
I got the Omicron.
A little cough to his cold. That's it.
I got the Omicron.
I hope you do, and I hope
Chest
you give it to
congestion.
me.
Well, then we're all immune if you get it.
What?
Right.
There's no speaking of natural immunity.
I gotta tell you what, though.
We
Whoa.
just got canceled.
Ricola really is the best.
I'm telling you.
Cough drop.
It's fantastic.
I
they're
was
amazing.
I'll
I
give
was
them a plug.
skeptical because of the price.
Oh,
I
yeah,
was like,
they're-
these
they're-
are like $1.50 more than any other cough drop. But dude, those things are
They're
the
totally
bomb.
worth
From
it.
Switzerland.
That's right.
I mean, and
Well,
they
they're
don't
all-
even do ads anymore because everybody remembers the guy with the foghorn. That's
yeah.
Well, they're like
I
all
got the-
natural ingredients.
I got the cherry ones the other day
I have
too.
the honey lemon, and
and
they're good.
I got the
Ooh.
regular ones, the natural herb ones, and then I got the cherry ones.
Okay.
I haven't tried those yet.
These are really good. Yeah, the honey
Well,
lemon are
we'll
really
slide
good.
one over here.
Oh, he's gonna try one.
I'll have one.
He,
in a little
well, he had a
bit.
little
There you go.
cigar.
Thank
he can
you.
clear his
Appreciate it.
throat with a cigar.
they're good. Yeah, I
I
recommend.
I had the regulars.
Yeah, they're
I would
good.
approve of those just because dependent. That's the thing. They have flavors if you want flavor.
They
if
do,
you're
but they
feeling
have
real
the herb.
sick,
Yeah.
you know, you're just like, oh, I don't want any flavor.
Well, the natural
They
ones
got
have
that.
they have natural peppermint in them.
Yeah.
So they do have a little bit of a.
And honestly, I could taste a little bit of honey. I think it's hard to not
I
have
think they
some
all
kind of flavor.
I think they all have honey in them.
Yeah.
because honey's a natural.
and that's
like,
usually
cough
what
suppressant.
I'll put
Yeah.
in my tea when I was having
Natural. Who would have
Yeah.
thought?
all my.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like
it's like God give us things.
Wow.
God give us. God gave
God
us
giveth,
things.
and God
Yeah.
taketh away.
Yeah.
I thought he was going into Old Testament.
I
I
thought he
know.
was doing King
when
James.
God giveth
He giveth
you
us
the
all-
Lord taketh
vaccine
away.
through
Things.
natural immunity,
Yeah.
throw it
There are
down.
two paths in life. We're gonna get there.
Yeah, we're getting there. We got a great show planned. Of course, we're going to be talking about the wonderful presentation of Ricky Gervais at the Golden Globes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I watched that Sunday.
I have.
No, I didn't.
I did not.
Nobody did because
Nobody
they
did.
didn't air.
They didn't air.
They didn't air.
They didn't air on
I
NBC.
didn't even know Ricky Gervais was doing it.
Nobody did.
Nobody. Yeah, NBC dropped it because they're racist. So
They did.
Oh,
they,
wow.
They had this plan. Remember at the beginning of the year, they said they were not going to televise it.
Like
But they didn't live stream it.
Nothing.
No,
They
nothing.
did live tweets.
It was
Really?
It was
That
very,
was it.
They said it was a very small event. Like they just kind of announced the winners and stuff. It wasn't a.
So it was a
huge-
gathering for only rich white people.
Yeah, yeah.
Pretty much. Not only that, but I mean, you got to think that was. I mean, it was for Omicron's sake.
Yeah.
I mean that's really what it was for.
Well.
It was.
But
to help
apparently
protect-
It was
Because-
still a super spreader
Because
event, whether it's on TV
there
or not.
aren't diverse members on the board, and they've been like trying to get that changed and pissed about it. So NBC dropped them. Like there was a lot of controversy last year about all of it. It was just stupid.
and it continues.
But yeah, we'll discuss how nobody cares.
Yeah, and basically it's the end of the Globes.
Yeah.
And it could be the end of the globe as well.
Now we do have one award show that's still pretty much the only one left that people kind of care about.
It's the only one we've cared about, and
Yeah.
even in the last few years,
Are you
it's
talking about
waned.
the Academy Awards?
Yeah, I said kind of. And those will be coming soon.
The noms are coming.
They are.
It's going to be televised. Of course, they're doing now. Of course, the COVID variant of Omicron is taking the world by storm.
Yeah.
So everybody's making every excuse. I mean, I love too how you can continue to have.
They'll still all be packed in that theater.
Oh,
yeah.
no, absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
last year I
they
forgot
did
where
it
they
at the train
had it.
station. Yeah.
But I love that Spider-Man is continuing to knock it out of the park at the box office.
yeah, it's
and
been
I read at least
banked.
3 articles on. I think it was either Variety or Hollywood Reporter. Sometimes they're both trash. But I was reading. I read 3 articles where they used COVID as the excuse for why the movie did poorly, and they were talking about the 355 and how people just didn't get out to go see it. and it was already
I saw
starting
the
off.
trailer and didn't want to see it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
It looked like garbage.
I think there was a lot of people, but
It was
again,
a Charlie's Angels B movie.
no doubt. That's exactly what it was.
It's funny.
A ripoff.
All these people are like, "Oh, nobody's going to the theaters because of COVID," and here's
No.
Spider-Man breaking over $1 billion and
Yeah.
still go. It just, I mean, it's not done
It's
releasing
still in the
over,
IMAX.
I would say it's not done releasing over. It just released this past weekend, I think, either in the Philippines or Singapore or something like that. So it's like it's still releasing in places, so it's going to make
Oh,
more
yeah.
money.
It's going to
People are
continue.
like,
to,
oh, we love Spider-Man. Oh, yeah. Like, it's everywhere.
Pizza Paca!
Oh, 3 pizza paca.
Whoa, 3 pizza!
And, I mean, in fact, the fact that it's still making this money, and there are still parts of the world where theaters are shut down. So it's kind of funny that it's like, okay, it's making this amount of money when it's not even got a full amount of theaters it can go to. So
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think it's hilarious to see them squabble for, again, it makes me realize just how much of the journalism, regardless of where you're at, immediately will find excuses or they'll underpin certain comments that they have with facts that are not relevant or not even present. I mean, that's the thing. The articles mentioned it was due to COVID, and I'm like, are you just throwing that out there because that's the thing in the headlines? Because there's really no proof in the article. It's just like, I mean, you could say that about any movie that comes out and bombs.
Yeah.
And I'm actually curious because now that the Golden Globes deemed the best musical of the year was indeed West Side Story,
yeah.
I expect that movie to just shoot off
Yeah.
towards the top.
yeah,
So Spielberg did the right thing.
best.
We'll see.
Best comedy or musical. You got to say the
True.
whole category. That's the category they throw all the movies that don't go into drama.
It was comical.
And so was, the Golden Globes for so many years, and it's going to be over soon.
Well, before we get into all that, we do have a great review of a movie that actually did win Best Screenplay at the Golden Globes for Kenneth Branagh. So we can get into that.
We could.
What is that?
Brandon's not ready yet.
I'm ready. I've been ready. I was waiting for you to announce the name.
Okay.
It's
I don't ever. I just go into it. And you
all
always hate me
right.
for it.
I always announce it.
Belfast. The last several weeks have been packed with movies releasing in cinemas. With major franchise films catching the public eye, many smaller releases have gone unnoticed. One such film that has had a limited release and buzz in award circles is Belfast. Directed by Kenneth Branagh, no stranger to Oscar-nominated filmmaking, Belfast is a story Branagh has called deeply personal to him, focusing on the childhood memories of a young boy, Buddy, played by Jude Hill, growing up in Belfast, Ireland during what is known in Ireland as the Troubles, a feud between Protestants and Catholics that lasted from the late 60s to the late 1990s. Branagh himself, having been born and raised in Belfast during this time period, based much of the movie on his own childhood. The film is an introspective look of a child experiencing real-life horrors while growing up with his loving family. And it's clear that Branagh's personal connection to the story has added great insight to the film's narrative. From the confusion of what is happening to the larger historical bits only being relayed through conversations Buddy overhears his parents or grandparents having, the movie's perspective is that of Buddy's, and it makes for an honest and endearing film on family and human kindness. With brilliant performances given by lead child actor Jude Hill, alongside Catriona Balfe and Jamie Dornan as his mother and father, the film also showcases Ciarán Hinds and Judi Dench as Buddy's grandparents, who offer up much of the film's humor alongside Laura McDonald as Maura, a local friend of Buddy's who seems to push him towards trouble more often than not. Each performance in the film holds weight as you get a glimpse into the lives of this family during their hardships and during the best moments as well. While the movie's conflict comes from the feud going on at the time and showcases riots and looting much like we may be familiar with today, it distinctly never feels politically motivated. Instead, focusing on Buddy and his family and the best of humanity amidst turmoil rather than the worst. Scenes of genuine affection between Buddy's relatives are often heartwarming or comical, and the characters are all relatable, feeling like real people faced with adversity. Shot mostly in black and white, with a few moments throughout the film in color, similar to Schindler's List, Branagh makes use of color only to highlight past and present, and highlight Buddy's fascination with cinema and theater, adding another layer to the themes in the film and Buddy's escape of the bleak reality with his family in a theater. Even in black and white, however, Belfast is a beautiful film, visually and in story. Branagh, in my opinion, can be a very hit-or-miss director when it comes to deeper substance in his filmmaking, but with Belfast he knocks it out of the park, making not only one of his best films, but one of the best to be released in 2021. I give Belfast 3.5 out of 4 stars.
Oh,
Just let the music go.
everlasting love. Oh,
Yeah, let's just let the.
let's just let.
not entertained?
Let's just let Van Morrison play.
Yeah, that is a great song. I mean, that
It's
whole
great.
scene was great. I loved that scene in the movie, but
No
yeah,
doubt.
no, I gave it 3.5. I actually really enjoyed it. It was nice to see something for once that, even though there is a political aspect in the events that was going on at that time, I didn't feel like the movie was politicized or made to point towards current politics. I really did feel like it was just this kind of love letter to Belfast and the home that Kenneth Branagh was raised in until a certain age, because he left too, much like it was depicted in the movie. And I've always liked Kenneth Branagh. I just feel like he can be very hit or miss sometimes, as far as he can make really good things, or he'll make things that are not bad. I don't think he's ever really made anything bad, but just kind of
Lukewarm.
Yeah, like the first Thor movie, Murder on the Orient Express.
I'm not a
but I
fan of
didn't
his
think-
Agatha Christie
Yeah.
remakes.
They weren't bad.
Not,
I just didn't think they were great.
But I'm not a
so-
huge Agatha Christie fan either.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. But I mean, I do like Kenneth Branagh, so to see him come off with something like this that was very personal to him, and I feel like he kind of knocked it out of the park. I was like, okay, go Kenneth Branagh, because I mean, he has been nominated for Oscars in the past for some of his Shakespeare adaptations. So it's like I could totally see this getting that Oscar nom.
Oh, no doubt. Absolutely. I mean, I would throw my hat in the ring and say 3.5 out of 4 as well. There was just a lot that struck me in a weird way about how this film released at the wrong time. I think it's going to get overshadowed.
Oh, it already has.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Because to me, this is a movie that I feel like would have soared high to not only the top of critics' list, but I mean, because it's critically gotten praised and people haven't like bashed it, but it's not groundbreaking or it's not,
It wasn't anything I've never seen before, but it is
Right.
something I haven't seen in a long time and well done.
right.
So-
And honestly,
yeah.
it took me back to like the early to I would say even mid to late 2000s, that first decade of the 2000s, where I felt like there were these personal stories that came out, and they were just of the grit of a family and trying to make it as regardless of background. It was like you have people who were up and comers that they had to truly get dirty, get down in the nitty gritty, and actually make their way in the world. And I felt like this whole atmosphere that was set upon this kind of civil war brewing in the background with Belfast and or that being the contentions at there's never really a civil war that breaks out, but the actual I read somewhere it was the actual fighting between the Catholics and the Protestants lasted for like 40 years.
Yes, it was from the late 60s to 1998.
Yeah.
It wasn't even over, because I was talking to you about this yesterday, it wasn't even over religious reasons. I think it was the Catholics wanted to make Northern Ireland part of Ireland again, and I could have the sides wrong, and I really need to double check. But whereas the other side wanted to remain with like the United Kingdom and part of Britain,
Yeah.
So and that's what they were fighting over. Even though it was the Catholics and the Protestants, it wasn't them fighting over how they practiced their beliefs or religion. It was
Right.
actually political reasons, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, and they don't really, like you said, they don't over politicize anything in the film, because I don't even feel like they really dive into that aspect of it.
no.
Most of the arguing or bickering you see in the film between Catholic and Protestant are over some of the religious beliefs. Especially there's that scene pretty close towards the beginning of the film where they're in church.
Yes.
And the guy's talking about going to hell and
That's
all this
so
stuff,
great.
and it's just like, wow, like, I mean, to see the look on how old was the kid, 7 or 8?
I think he was like 8.
Yeah, to see the look on his face, hearing something like that, I thought that was great. I thought his reaction was great, and
I thought that was one of the greatest parts of the movie was that it focused on his reaction, because I think that's why they left it loose in terms of the politics.
Yeah.
it was more so
What kid wouldn't
how,
see that?
how you're seeing it through
Yeah.
his
It was,
eyes.
yeah, it was like his perspective. Like even the political parts or the troublesome parts are like the things he overhears his parents talking about. and then it's him not really fully understanding things. Like I love the scene when he's talking to his brother and he's like, I don't remember, which path are we supposed to go down?
Yeah. He draws the fork in the road, and I'm like,
That was
it's great.
But Sean, what did you end up?
I ended up with 3.
Okay.
It wasn't for any reason of dislike other than there was a few scenes that I felt like needed to be. There's a few of the more emotional moments that I really felt like I wish they would have went on for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Especially the scenes with the grandfather. You get those throughout the film, and they're perfectly placed. I felt like they break up some of the monotony of the kids being kids and stealing candy from the candy store and all the rioting, and then you have these emotional moments with the grandparents, and I felt like they were perfectly timed. But sometimes there were moments where I wanted them to just extend a little bit further. I felt like it's kind of weird. It's just maybe an issue that only I had with the film was like there were moments that I was like, okay, this is getting me. This is getting me. Oh, they just stopped.
I can understand.
It kind of
that,
cut me short, and I'm like, man, 30 more seconds of that monologue, and I'd have been bawling.
Yeah.
Like it had me, and it just didn't get me all the way there, but it was enough that it does carry a very emotional weight, especially the grandfather. Keith and I, all of us can all probably attest that we have grandfathers that are very similar to that let us be a kid, encouraged us to be a kid, even when our parents were telling us to stay straight-laced, and you've got a grandpa that's kind of encouraging you to have some mischief. And,
well, I love the
but
scene,
also giving you these life lessons that, man.
I love the scene where it's Judi Dench, they're sitting there, and it's like he just got done with school, and I guess he goes over there before his parents get home, or his mom does. And it's just so funny. He's sitting there, and he's like, yeah, we're doing a report on the moon. And which my accent's gonna be god awful.
I'm just don't do it.
I'm gonna butcher it. I won't do it anymore. But then he's like, oh, you are. He's like, are they still up there? Did they ever come back? And it's just it's just funny how
he talks about the dark side of the moon.
Yes,
and
we got to go up there.
I love
we got to but I loved the realism.
Fueled his imagination.
Yes, he let him be a kid, and he also taught him, this kind of playful banter of, wonder and mystery, and it was like, I loved that was what I just loved about the message of the movie as a whole is how close-knit the family was. Another scene that I absolutely loved that I thought was hilarious, and I could easily see being real. If it was mimicked real, it'd have to be. But it was the scene where she writes the nasty letter because she's finally done paying all this debt off. And he gets home, and she, of course, confesses before he has a chance to tell her anything. And, of course, he uses this as an excuse to be like, well, because you wrote that nasty letter, they tacked on, like, this much more money. And she's like, you liar! You had that this whole time! And she starts throwing plates at him. And
It was
so hilarious. But they took tense moments like that, and they did lighten them up a little bit, made them a little lighthearted, but they also still had the very serious moments of the mom and the dad sitting down at the dinner table, and him coming down the stairs, and he's hearing them talk, and they've got to be quiet because they don't want them to hear, and they know that their marriage is on the brink, that there is a chance they got to leave Belfast because times are tough, and it was just very authentic from his perspective, but also that he never had this. They didn't have to go through this whole rocky turmoil of he goes through this terrible, troubled childhood and has these awful events play out to it. It was like, no, it was just natural,
everyday,
real life. Everyday life.
Yeah.
And that's what I loved about it the most.
Yeah, the one scene and I feel like you saying how they had these moments of just this tenseness, and then all of a sudden they break it up, was when they're actually sitting down on the couch to tell the boys that they're thinking about moving, and the youngest just starts screaming.
Yeah.
And they're just like, okay, never mind. We'll come back to it on Easter.
Yeah.
It's like that's exactly what parents do. It's like, what are we got to do to shut the kid up and calm the situation down? But then you also have the idea that the family is not. Your family is not where you live. Like they've grown up there. They've lived their whole lives there. The parents grew up there. Their parents grew up there. And it's like the idea of leaving that place for whatever reason that's a hell to go through, trying to make that decision. But I love that they finally come to the realization that as long as we go together, that's where our home is. That's
Yeah.
where our life and our family is.
Yeah.
And the fact too that the parents that the grandparents, and I don't want to spoil it, but the grandparents do let them go.
Yeah.
And it's not a guilt trip like you're
Yeah.
leaving us here, we're old or whatever. It's like the fact that they loved their children enough to say, no, we understand, you're young, you've got your whole lives ahead of you, your boys have their whole lives ahead of them, we don't want them to live in this mess. Like, yes, if
Yeah.
you need to go. And that's so refreshing, because a lot of the times I think we see depictions of selfishness in a lot of films, and especially in films that are supposed to be about families. And this
Yes.
just really showed a selflessness
No doubt.
on the part of all of them. The wife is willing to leave to go with her husband so that they can keep their marriage.
Well, and I loved
And-
his, even, to the extent that the husband was willing to say, like, he kept beating this drum of, like, there's no hope here.
Yeah.
And of course, he was like, I forget if I think he thinks his grandfather or his father, because he says something along the lines of, like, I didn't raise him, you did. Because
No,
he's
it's
been
not the
away.
mom.
He
The mom.
tells the
Yeah.
mother that.
Oh, he tells the mom
his
that.
wife that.
Okay.
And I love
Says
And I
you've
love
done an
that too.
amazing job. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I lost it.
And-
But again, I almost
Yeah.
lost it.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't long enough.
But there was those incredible moments along with that underpinning of, like, the humility from all of them to really sacrifice one another's. Even the kids at the end, it's like they don't want to leave the grandparents
No,
behind.
no.
They don't want to leave the only life they've ever known.
Well,
or
the
been
8-year-old
around.
doesn't want to leave his little 8-year-old girlfriend behind.
Exactly.
You
Oh, I
know,
love
the
that
possibility
scene. I
of.
love-
They take him
I
to
love
the
it
house.
when he says, "What's the possibility of us having a future together?" And he was like, "Why not?" You
Yeah,
know, whatever.
I know. I love that.
it.
I love
Yeah.
that encouragement too. It wasn't like, no, this isn't the end.
Yeah.
you can
Doesn't
come
have to be.
because you tell every little kid that, because it's like, yeah, you're probably gonna grow up and you'll remember this as your first love.
Yeah.
Yep.
But you're not gonna sit here and think, oh, I got to come back to
Yeah.
this girl. And if it does, it makes an even sweeter story.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Belfast
Absolutely.
too. But no, I really did.
Dreams come true. Right?
It's right. Dreams come true. But no, I agree. I thought that was even beautiful. It was just
Yeah.
like a night, because you could see a kid doing that, and it mimics exactly the reactions of, I thought, a loving. What if I just loved the love and support of an actual family being displayed, and it being so realistic.
Yep.
And to me, it was like, for that to have taken place in Belfast in the 1960s, and yet you're sitting here and it's like, that still occurs today. That's why it is relevant. It's just sad that it's not going to be noted more so, because it isn't, like I said, groundbreaking or reinventing the norms
Yeah.
or the heteronormative society that we live in. And that's probably the saddest takeaway, is that this film will probably get overlooked because of that.
This is the type of film I feel like in the past, like, probably still might have been overlooked at first, but it's the type of movie that would have gotten the nomination, and people would have been like, "Oh, that looks interesting." Like, kind of like Slumdog Millionaire, where
Yes.
it gets
Yep.
more attention after the Oscars because
True.
people are aware of it. And I just feel like I don't think that'll happen. For a lot of the part is that even if it gets nominated, it's not the type of movie the Academy's going to promote as, "Oh, you have to see this movie."
Yeah.
They'll be like,
Actually, if you don't mind, can you take a mental note of what you just said? Because I want to bring that back in and kind of reshape that
Oh, to
kind of
see,
that
like,
focus on
I
talking
mean,
about the
I believe
globes.
it might get a nom. I do think that, but I don't think the Oscars are going to promote this movie at all. As
Well, and I
being,
just think
you know,
award
this
shows
is-
in
yeah.
general.
Oh, no,
I think
no.
award shows in general, and we'll get
Well,
into
look,
this discussion.
yeah, with the
but-
like you said with the Golden Globes, it did win screenplay, but that was it.
Right.
I mean, it didn't even get
But
a lot of
I
noms.
think
So
we
you
could
think this film
discuss
doesn't follow a certain agenda that is
No.
going to get noticed in the Oscars?
No,
well, and I honestly think that. Well, we'll get into it. We'll get into it
I
here
think
in a
it'll
sec.
it'll get
Because we got a
certain
few other
amount of
headlines
praise. Yeah.
to talk about before. But 3.5 out of 4 stars for Belfast. So go check it out if you get a chance. I think it is widely available now in theaters. I think its wide release happened already after
You
the new
can
year.
you can watch it
Yeah.
streaming too.
I think
Is
it's,
it?
I don't know if it's free, but it's
think
available.
it's-
Oh, okay. So
Yeah,
you
it's-
can rent it.
I've seen it on Apple TV
Yeah,
and
I'm
stuff
pretty sure
like
it's a VOD right now. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's move into our headlines.
Show me the money.
Oh,
I will. I'll show
show me
you
the
that.
Quan.
Give me the Quan. It's like you
You ain't doing well, Jerry. Show me the money.
It was a good movie.
It's a great
Hey,
movie.
you sound like Kubo right there.
Well,
did.
before Cameron Crowe went off and lost his mind,
Yeah.
he bought a zoo.
What like
Elizabethtown.
we're talking about like
Yeah,
all, like,
E-Town was
so many
awful.
directors that like had great like beginnings and either are
Just
hit or miss
fizzled
now
out.
or just crap.
Yeah.
We need to do a show on that.
Yeah.
We need to do like a special series.
Maybe that'll be maybe that'll
those
be
who
our
just
next
petered
maybe
out.
that could be our next
Yeah.
multimedia segment. Not this week's.
I
but
know.
Next one maybe.
Well, let's bring up two sad losses.
Yeah.
We already lost Betty White just before the turning of the new year.
Yeah.
We have two other huge losses to add just within the first week and a half
it's
of the
crazy.
new year. It's
It always
insane.
happens in threes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
you're
what they
right.
say.
Well,
They
it is
do.
funny because I would say they all three are icons in
Yes.
the industry. So I mean, it is like not that people who die in the industry aren't, but I mean, I think these three are major icons. So
But Mr. Sidney Poitier passed away at 94, and of course
long life.
the other big known name, which we didn't throw him out at the beginning of the show. We probably should have started out with these, but Bob Saget just passed away at 65. Saget.
Bob Saget.
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 That's exactly what I was thinking. It's
probably-
okay. He would be laughing with us.
Yeah, he would be. He would be.
yeah.
He,
Well, I knew
he
his
wants us
sense
to tell way worse jokes.
Yeah, he had a much worse sense of humor. So, or
Excuse me.
worse in the sense of not that I feel like his sense
Yeah.
of humor is bad. I find it funny.
It was crass.
Yeah, it was crass.
Which
crude.
I mean, hey. But no, let's talk about Sidney Poitier and his amazing career. Obviously, the first black Academy Award-winning actor, lead actor, and the first ever African American was Hattie McDaniels, of course, from Gone with the Wind.
Yeah.
But Sidney Poitier paved the way, I think, for other black actors and just black people in general in Hollywood. For instance, I think one of the biggest takeaways that has been obviously garnering a lot of the spotlight as to the roles he chose in the industry were not to portray the stereotypical black figure that overwhelming amounts of black people were getting cast as. He wanted to show that, you know, black people could fit into any kind of role, like a successful doctor, you know, something that was portrayed as an icon that people would look up to, and often had good morals and good values in the characters that he did play.
Yeah.
He rarely played people, you know, that would be the bad guy on screen, and honestly, I think that, you know, so many black actors have come out and talked about how influential he was in paving. I mean, Denzel Washington, Will Smith. You have, I mean, but check now anymore. It's like I don't think there would be any black actor that wouldn't point to Sidney Poitier and the work his amazing portfolio has done. But just an amazing talent. Most known probably for his In the Heat of the Night. You know,
In the Heat of
they
the Night.
call me Mr. Tips. Even though. I think he didn't even win for that one. I forget the movie. It's in the Lilies. What is it? It's in the article. Crap.
Look Who's Coming to Dinner is my favorite.
That's a good.
Oh, that's your favorite.
Which that's a film there that, you know, headlines an interracial couple
Yeah.
and
It had
dealing
a
with
terrible remake, but the
yes,
original
the
is
remake's terrible, but the
Yeah.
original is
good.
good.
With Ashton Kutcher.
Yes.
But was it
Oh,
Bernie
God.
Mac?
I think
Bernie Mac was the father-in-law.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because they flipped.
They
the-
flipped it
the
was a white
races.
guy and a black girl.
You
yeah.
Black family. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lilies of the Field.
That's
yeah.
it. I thought that was it. Okay. But yeah, I mean that was the one he won for, and
Guess Who's Coming to Dinner?
yeah, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. But that was the thing,
That's
though.
what he did, yeah.
It was groundbreaking roles. The article obviously aptly points out it's an AP article. You could find it online just typing in Sidney Poitier. But they rightfully point out that, you know, because of the civil rights movement coming along at that time in the 60s, it was the right movement and the right time for him to kind of stake his claim. But he was very adamant that he did not want to be portrayed as just a black actor. That he wanted to be honored and remembered for his craft
Yeah.
of just being a good actor.
Yeah.
And the fact that he got his start of literally just coming, you know, not even speaking the language and coming over here to just start off. He started off, I think it was like a janitor, a dishwasher, and he saw this flyer to go it was the Black Negro Theater, I think, or the Negro Theater, Actors Theater or something in New York. And he went to go for this audition, and they turned him away several times. And he even said, he was like, look, I'll be a janitor if you just let me be, take acting lessons and let me be an understudy. And he slowly and steadily worked his way up and became one of the best known actors, obviously not only in Hollywood, but, of many generations.
I mean, he did chase like the American dream. I mean, that's what
yes.
they come over here, and I mean, he did it.
And I think that
proved that if you put your mind to it, you work hard for it. I mean, it doesn't matter where you come from or your background.
I was getting ready to say that, but I thought I might get canceled, so I didn't say it.
Well, I
was getting ready to say, in America, you can do that.
Yep.
You can be a black man from nothing and come and be one of the greatest actors Hollywood's ever seen.
That's right.
So,
well, and I think it was beautiful that when Denzel honored him, I think it was in the early 2000s in Academy Awards, they gave him an honor. And he said, I'll always be chasing in your footsteps, Sidney.
Yeah.
I'll always be trying to chase after what you've achieved. And, to see even Denzel Washington, who I think is just a phenomenal actor in our generation. Yeah. But to see him, kind of, it always makes me tear up or choke up when I see other people who I consider to be great admire those who are greater than them and who they would consider greater than them.
Yeah.
And no doubt, I think, watching Denzel honor Sidney Poitier in that way, it just showcases the character that he has and obviously those who do come after him. And Sidney was like, hey, I welcome the company.
Yeah.
He said, a lot of people in my day weren't getting the breaks that obviously I got, and I was able to pave that way forward, and now they followed in. And he was like, it kind of feels like a family now. He's like, people are coming along, and I'm like, hey, great, the more the merrier.
Yep.
Keep telling our story, but also just being authentic and being true to yourselves and loving what you do and acting.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, guys, let's move on to, sadly, I'm bringing the mood down before we get all crazy.
It's okay.
With the Golden Globes. But yes, Mr. Bob Saget.
America's dad.
America's Poppy.
It was fun.
What?
Poppy.
America's Poppy.
I just, again, just like with the Betty White memes, only some of these weren't as bad. Like, it was funny to see. It's like, I can't, like, people posting, I can't handle losing America's grandma and America's dad, like, within 3 weeks. And it's like,
Wow.
Yeah. So it's because Betty White and then Bob Saget. But I mean, of course, everybody knows him from Full House. That's the thing that
Danny Tiana.
most known for, obviously.
Great.
But I mean, he did have a very successful stand-up career doing the exact opposite type of humor
Yes.
that he did.
Yeah, that was one thing I was
on
getting ready to
Full
say.
House.
Richard Pryor was another one of those guys.
Yeah.
Richard Pryor was one of the most vulgar people on stage that you've ever seen, even compared to Dave Chappelle.
Yeah.
Like, he was just ornery. But the movies that he starred in were usually pretty clean and wholesome, and they might have been crude humor, but they also had these great messages and stuff.
Everybody who knew Bob Saget, like, he had a crude sense of humor, but they said he was always the nicest, kindest man. He was
a cigar smoker too, which I commend him.
Rock on, Bob.
He would do anything for anybody. So I mean, a lot of people had a lot of fond things to say about him.
Yeah. Well, and I was going to say the outpouring from even those who were on the Full House set, saying how much they, how great a loss it is because
Candace
of
Cameron.
Candace Cameron Bure came out and she spoke specifically about how they really became a family on that set.
The Olsen twins made a statement about how kind and like fatherly he was towards them on set. I mean,
John Stamos, of course. I mean, and that's the thing. I think when you really do see the effects and you can tell whose are the genuine, like, heartfelt connections to these people who have passed that really either knew them, I mean, famous people obviously are going to have an outpouring of love, whether they were terrible people or not, because you still have a fan base that's there. But when you see the ones who truly were working with them hand in hand, or people who worked alongside them even after the fact, when they have that warmth and that feeling of, okay, no, this person really was, somebody different off camera, and they were a great person. You see that come out, and it's always nice to have. It's nice to have that perspective and that thought, just because you don't want to sit here and be like, oh, if I somehow find out that, I mean, we all found out Danny Tanner wasn't America's dad behind the scenes.
Yeah.
But then again, he also wouldn't have paraded that around and said that was okay for content for, children. It's like he would have never done that. But he still made a living off telling jokes and made people laugh.
Everybody
And-
knows his rendition of the
The
Aristocrats, is the definitive rendition.
No doubt. No doubt. Oh, man, I need to rewatch that. It's been a long time.
terrible.
It's like high school. I think high school was the last time I watched
terrible.
that. It's crazy.
But it's great.
It's fantastic.
I mean, the whole point of the thing is to make it as crass as possible. So
But all right, sad to have those two pass away just recently, and of course we mourn their loss, just like all of those who were close to them. Prayers out to their families and their loved ones.
So there is a loss, I think, that has happened recently that we don't mourn very much.
No, not at all.
It's the loss of the Golden Globes.
Is this it? Is it finally over? Can we finally say there will be no more Golden Globes after this year? Please, dear God.
I mean, I think they're still going to have a ceremony, but I don't think they'll ever come back to. NBC doesn't have a reason to.
Funeral is somewhat of a ceremony.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
That's what it's going to be like.
The-
It's going to be like
but,
a
I mean,
funeral.
their
that was
Hollywood's funeral.
did Ricky
Yeah.
Gervais give, you know,
A eulogy.
He did.
a eulogy pretty much?
He gave it right then and there, and I mean, their ratings have been abysmal for years and constantly dropping. NBC didn't carry them this year, and they really have no reason, I think, to ever really pick it back up. I mean, I don't know what they had on Sunday night instead, but I'm sure it had higher ratings than the Golden Globes would.
I know
have.
that we were all circulating the news about Bob Saget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
honestly was probably trending and way more important than the Golden Globes.
Nobody
Completely
nobody
got overlooked.
knew the Golden Globes were even happening.
No. And honestly,
I
that's a
didn't
good
even
thing.
realize. Yeah.
So you said something tonight because I didn't even have the updated notes yet.
We were talking
So
about that
it's like,
yesterday.
what?
I
Golden Globe.
We got the
yesterday
winners
morning-
list right here.
Yesterday morning before work, I was scrolling through Facebook and I had seen, because I watched Squid Game, and I'd seen the elderly actor on that movie or in that show won a Golden Globe, and I was like, oh, I didn't even know those happened. So then I pulled it up, and sure enough, yeah, they happened. I looked at all the nominees and the winners, and I wasn't really impressed, other than Belfast. I agree with, like, as far as the screenplay, but
And
Yeah.
he got
Yeah.
nominated.
I have not. I
Well,
haven't
it
seen.
won.
I haven't
No,
seen the
for
Power
best-
of the
best
Dog
drama.
yet.
oh yeah.
I haven't either.
I have not, but I have heard it's good. I do want to check that out.
Yeah.
That's a Netflix film.
Yeah, it's on
apparently they were the
Netflix.
big winners, along with HBO, and then I know
Yeah.
Jason Sudeikis won for Ted Lasso.
For Ted, yeah, he got Ted Lasso.
But ultimately, we're not going to talk about the winners because they don't matter. They're
Yeah,
irrelevant.
really, yeah.
And that's kind of to go back to the point we were just talking about before our other sad headlines.
Does anybody care anymore?
Well, I was going to say, I think we're living in such a time where the relevancy of any kind of, not even just an award ceremony, but really you can have a movie like a Belfast come out, and regardless of its, Spider-Man has the attraction because
Spider-Man.
it has the pull of a Marvel film, and it has the pull of its continual weeks on top. But ultimately, we really live in a society anymore where you can expect something to stick around in the news or in the headlines for even like a month? I mean, we really live in such a culture where it's so quick. The headlines change so fast. We're in such an information
It changes faster
overload.
than the CDC's rules on COVID. That's how fast it changes.
I would argue that they've changed just as fast.
Yeah.
But
It's
yeah,
like a week from now, we're not going to know about like nobody's going to care about that. They don't care now. 3 days later about or 2 days later.
and think about our continual bashing of the Academy Awards over the last several years. The fact is that even I know. Actually, no. I'm trying to think off the top of my head now. Last year's big winner,
Nomadland.
Nomadland.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. But what was the year before that?
I don't know.
Can you all remember?
Oh, Green Book.
Was it Green Book?
No, I thought that was the year before that.
that was the
Maybe
year
that was
before
the year
that.
that.
I think so. I
And
think
then
it was
before that, it was The Shape of Fish Stick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was the year before Green Book.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think
But
of what
the year before-
2020 was.
Oh,
They did-
it was Parasite.
That's
Yes.
it. Yep.
Parasite.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Bong Joon-ho.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yes, we can remember those because we follow it.
I mean, it took us a little.
Yeah.
It took us a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To think about
That's
it.
proof right there.
Yeah.
That even as people who follow the industry and keep up to tabs on it, the news changes so quickly
Yeah.
that it's just like even the award shows themselves, it's like what they're honoring becomes such a fad.
Well, and none of those movies that we just mentioned, while I liked some of them, like I like Nomadland and I like Green Book, but none of those are movies that like Slumdog Millionaire or Saving Private Ryan, or movies that like I have watched multiple times.
Well, they're not
over and
movies
over.
that most people watched.
No.
Most people have no idea what Parasite is, or
No.
even Green Book for that matter.
They'll probably say, "Oh, it's got subtitles." I ain't watched that.
Nomadland.
Yeah.
I mean, I like Nomadland, but I don't think a lot of people really watch that either. I
No.
mean, they're not movies that really connect with people. They're not movies that 10 years from now people are like, "Oh yeah, I got to go back and watch that." People still watch, Forrest Gump, Saving Private Ryan, Lord of the Rings. These movies that
What was the last best
yeah,
picture?
Avatar.
It didn't win, thank God. What was the last best picture that you all remember winning? That was.
Did I remember winning?
No,
I never
not,
won one.
Not. I'm sorry, not that you remember winning.
La La Land.
Oh, they didn't.
But that's a good point.
Caught me off
If
guard.
La La Land had won, which it did, I refuse.
It's funny.
Yeah, that and Fences are the two movies that I.
Fences was great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was great.
No, it was funny because I was scrolling through my feed today, and I follow the Academy, and they always have like every once in a while these clips of like from films or whatever, and this one was from Moonlight, and it said, "Oh, is it black people in the moon look blue?" Oh, that's a good name for you. I'm gonna call you Blue. And I just looked at that line and I thought, this is terrible. I probably butchered that line, but it was so terrible. It wasn't worth remembering.
Hey,
It's bad. Yeah.
You might have just done it better.
I think I did.
So,
But
yeah.
it was just, as I looked at that, I thought, that's a Best Picture winner.
Yeah.
And I was like,
None of these
nobody gives a
movies
crap
stand
about
the
that
test
movie.
of time. A year out from now, people are like, I don't care. A couple of years out from now, they're completely forgotten.
no, what's funny about that scenario is years afterwards, people are still saying La La Land won Best Picture.
It is. It did.
I mean,
It did.
I mean, I've told this story before, but when I ordered the Blu-ray and got it in the mail, it says winner of so many 7 Academy Awards or whatever, and I like cross it off and write 8 on the cover of the Blu-ray.
It won Best Picture.
Yeah.
But do y'all remember what was the last Best Picture that you can remember that won and that was actually worth revisiting and rewatching? It's been over 10 years
I mean, I'm
ago.
going to have to think about because I mean,
See, that's
I can jump all the way back 100% for sure to Return of the King.
Well,
but
that
I
was
know-
03.
But I feel like there's
Yeah,
got
I
to
don't
be
know.
something since then.
The
that's
Artist-
been that impactful.
It-
The Artist was a good
I've
one.
never watched The Artist again.
You won't? Okay.
I haven't
It's
since
good.
I,
I
since the
think
one
it's a
time I
great
saw
movie.
it.
It
It's
is-
one
it is
that I
great.
could rewatch. But I'm also a film lover. I kind of give it nods. Same with La La Land. I love La La Land.
Well, I
but
mean, I loved Slumdog Millionaire.
What was the
'cause that was after Return
what's
of the King.
what's
It
the
was
Netflix
like
the
04.
Hispanic Netflix movie that won? What was that?
oh,
We're forgetting about that one. That was just 2 or 3 years ago.
it starts with an R.
Roma? It didn't
Roma.
win Best Picture, did
Roma?
it? I didn't think it
Roma?
won Best
Roma.
Picture. Yeah, it was Roma, but it didn't win
I
Best
thought
Picture.
it did.
I think it did because I think that was the year Alfonso Cuarón and he won Best Picture. with it.
Cuarón.
Cuarón?
Alfonso Cuarón.
Cuarón.
I thought he did.
What did it?
or
did it not?
I'm looking it up, but I was trying to think of other.
See, we
while I was
can't
doing
remember.
that.
We
That
can't
was
remember these.
2018.
No, it didn't win.
Yeah, it didn't win.
It didn't win. That was Green
What
Book.
won?
That was Green
Green
Book.
Book
Yeah,
won.
it was
Okay,
Green Book.
okay, yeah,
Yeah.
I got it.
Because I picked Roma to win. And it
Yeah.
screwed me over.
I won.
thought
I picked Green Book.
Well, that's another one. Roma. I haven't watched that once. Since
I've not watched it once. I haven't watched Green Book since it won, and I liked Green Book, but again,
Same.
it just wasn't.
Well, again, there's movies that, like that's the thing. What was the last Best Picture winner that transcends?
I gotta, like,
that
go
really
back and look
stands
at
the
'em.
test of time.
I know there's some that I've watched.
I mean, you should be
That's
able to
what I'm
pull
saying.
it off the top of
Slumdog
your head.
Millionaire is the only one after Return of the King that I could really think of that I was like, man, I loved that movie. Yeah, because I mean, you got going back, Nomadland, Parasite, Green Book, The Shape of Water, Moonlight. None of those.
Oh,
are
I've
great.
watched
Spotlight.
Birdman.
I know Spotlight.
Spotlight.
won.
I've watched Birdman.
Birdman was
don't-
okay. I mean, I like it, but it's not. Then before Birdman was 12 Years a Slave.
Oh, The Hurt Locker. I watched that 4 or 5 times a year.
The what? Really?
King's
Oh,
Speech.
yeah.
You like that
yeah.
one?
The King's Speech would be the one for me. I love.
See, the
No
one
Country for Old Men? Oh,
King's
my
Speech is
God.
good, but No Country for Old Men.
Yeah,
Hell yeah,
but
The
that's
Departed.
2008.
That would be. I would say that.
Slumdog Millionaire was after No Country, and that's 2009. So,
Wow, I mean, look at that. Like, just years in a row, you had Crash, which was
That was
nah.
terrible.
And then you had The
was
Departed, No Country for Old Men, Slumdog, The Hurt Locker, and The King's Speech, and The Artist. Argo was terrible.
I liked Argo.
I
I
like
did not like
Argo,
Argo.
but it is not one that I revisit.
No,
I
agree.
praised it way more when it came out than I.
But
I
literally,
should
you
have.
get to
$1 Million Baby wasn't that bad.
Million Dollar
I love
Baby
it.
was
I
great.
saying, you get to
Clint
2012 with The Artist, and then from there on, it's Argo, which is okay. 12 Years a Slave I liked, but still not. I think,
To
amazing.
me, from Birdman on,
Birdman, Spotlight, Moonlight.
You're
yeah.
right. From Birdman on, it's been
Birdman on,
just
it's been
so we've
terrible.
had for the last since 2015. Birdman was 2015. So
It's literally we're going on we're almost approaching a decade.
wow.
We're
be
halfway through a
7 years,
decade,
yeah.
and it's literally going to be movies that I could care less
yeah,
about.
I mean it really is.
Anytime I see No Country for Old Men on
Oh, I'll
TV,
stop and watch.
stop and watch it.
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I love that movie.
I mean, you
great
talk
movie.
about the Coen brothers just had one hit after another. I mean, literally, what was it? Oh gosh, I loved Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Yeah.
I love No Country for Old Men. It's like any of their
Lady
movies.
Killers was good.
I'll stop and watch. I told Keith this. He didn't agree with me, but that's fine. I love True Grit, the remake.
it was.
I like it.
I understand if you
not,
like.
Yeah, it's not the original,
Right.
but it's good.
I get that.
As far as remakes go, it wasn't that bad.
I prefer it. I told him. I said I kind of have like
he doesn't like John Wayne.
I'm not a huge fan of John Wayne. I know.
I'm not a
gonna give
huge
me
fan
some
of Jeff
grief.
Bridges, but
I
I do love Jeff Bridges.
see, there's certain
So
roles
good.
that I just don't like him in, and I really hate it when he tries to do that
Southern
that
drawl.
real
that
southern that real southern drawl.
I think he did it real good.
But I mean, it
Richard
fits.
Cockburn.
It fits in that movie.
But no, but the Coen brothers are another one that it's like
Yeah.
anytime I see one of their movies on, I'll watch.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hate to say it, but it's like, and I'm sure there's movies from the last several years that stick out to us, but they were quite frankly overlooked or not even nominated.
I mean, I'm just looking through.
Freaking
here.
loved American Sniper.
Yes,
That was fantastic. That was my best picture winner for that year, and I think that was the year either Birdman or I think that was the year Birdman.
I think
won.
that's the year Birdman won. But and that would I think have been a movie that would have been more fitting would be American Sniper. But looking through all the from
Zero
the,
Dark 30.
the 80s
Oh, yeah.
through
Fantastic.
the 80s,
Yeah.
90s, early 2000s. I'm looking at these winners. I mean, even going like through the 70s. it's like,
Gladiator
it's so
was
many,
2000.
So many memorable
That's
ones.
fantastic.
I mean, yeah. I mean,
Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
Throughout
Gladiator,
the
I think.
all of the 90s.
That's
I
what I'm
think,
saying.
Every single
like
one
I was
of
looking
them.
through, it's
A
like
Beautiful
okay,
Mind.
in '87 you had Platoon, then Last Emperor, Rain Man, Driving Miss Daisy, Dances with Wolves, Silence of the Lambs, Unforgiven, Schindler's List, Forrest Gump, Braveheart, The English Record, Titanic, Shakespeare in Love, American Beauty, Gladiator, A Beautiful Mind,
Minus
Chicago,
Titanic.
The Return of the King, $1 Million. But it's like yes, all these are like amazing, epic
Memorable movies.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you get like we said to 2015 with Birdman, and you have Spotlight.
Yeah,
Moonlight,
no.
The Shape of Water. It's like these are not great movies.
It's funny too because with Birdman was good because it was
I like Birdman. Yeah,
it was
it's good.
it was a mixture of a good film, like good acting and everything, but the cinematography aspect of it, the whole idea of that single take, or at least the feel of the single take,
Right.
just like with 1917, which
Yeah.
is another
That-
movie
that-
that
that's-
should have
okay.
won
Should've,
something.
yes.
That would have been,
But-
I would say, my most recent pick of one that I could watch over and over again, and it stands the test of
Oh,
time.
absolutely.
That would probably be the most recent one that would
Yeah.
I would say stands the test of time.
should have won instead of Green Book.
Yeah,
true.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think I actually picked that one.
I think you did.
I don't think I picked.
I thought 1917 was going to clean up.
I did
in
too,
it, but it didn't.
And here's the thing: I think, given the years, it would have back in the past.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I think in the 90s or early 2000s, no
Yep.
doubt. If 1917 had been pulled off, it would have cleaned house on everything it was
Absolutely.
nominated for.
Yep.
But I mean, it's sad because I'm trying to think of even just the most recent film.
Or it was released in 2019, right? So that would have been the year Parasite won at the Academy
It was,
Awards.
yeah. That was,
So-
yeah.
So yeah, so instead of Parasite, yeah.
No, I thought it was the year that Roma.
Oh no, the Parasite was released 19. So 20. Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So
I would say because I would have picked 1917, but I think Green Book won.
no,
And
because Parasite released in 2019 as well. So that was the.
Oh, never mind.
so
Okay.
The
Okay,
year
yeah.
Parasite won, it should have definitely been 1917.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. 100%. Alrighty, guys. What are your thoughts? Give us your thoughts out there. You can always email us at RMPodcast at redmoonproductions.com.
Yeah, you could.
But it's time for us to move on to our multimedia.
Multimedia.
He says it so well.
Multimedia.
Multimedia.
Multi.
I like the
Media. Max
multimedia
Headroom.
segment.
Max Headroom.
Yep.
Alrighty, guys. So let's talk about. I think this will be kind of an interesting discussion. I had a little just brain fart today at work, and I started thinking about things, and I was like, nostalgia.
He sent me this text. It was great. Back in the good old 90s, there was a series that Disney created called Gargoyles.
Fantastic show.
It was ahead of its time. But when they released a VHS that was like a movie that was basically like the first 3 or 4 episodes that they just made into like because it was all one story.
Talking about the cartoon?
Yeah. So they released the VHS with like that was like basically the first 5 episodes as one movie that also came with like a board game. And at the end of the movie, after the credits, they had like a video board game. You watched the video and you moved like you did what the video said and moved the pieces. And Brandon sent me this video today like
it was the full VHS tape.
Video, yeah, for that board game. He's like, I wish you still had this. And I was like, yes.
You don't have it?
No,
Yeah.
I don't.
And
It probably got donated to daycare.
yeah, it's probably. Here's the thing: it's probably
Along
in a
with
bunch
all
of
my
different
cool
places.
ass toys. Every cool toy I had, my mom gave to the daycare.
Oh, I still wish I
yeah.
had. Oh well, let's talk about it. So that
All right.
brought up the idea.
I do have.
You got one?
Well, I was gonna say I do still have the Kinder Star Wars toys.
Those are the important ones.
Okay, so
Yeah.
wait a minute now. It says nostalgic tech.
Yeah.
Are we going with tech or are we going with
It
toys?
could be anything.
toys
I'm
aren't
honestly,
tech.
I put old nostalgia tech, meaning like just old things from back in the day, whether
Yeah.
it be toys. I said tech because I was thinking of the VHS tape.
Yeah.
I thought that was a cool.
It
I
was.
think,
It
I
was
think of like
fun.
when I watched Home Alone for Christmas. I
Yeah.
thought of the little handheld, like tape recorder thing that he had. I never had one, but I always wanted one of
got
those.
that little like it was like a Fisher Price, but we still used the
Yeah,
Fisher
yeah.
Price.
That had
It's
the
like blue
microphone.
and yellow
Yes.
with red knobs and stuff on
but
it.
we
Yeah.
would record like fake radio shows. See, we were ahead of our time.
We
even
were
back
we
then
were
with
doing this
podcasts.
even back then.
But yeah, we
were
record like
prepared.
little fake radio shows into this like play school toy. Yeah.
Yep.
But it did. It brought up these memories of like old things that I mean. I still wish I did. I kept my Pokemon cards. They would have been
too.
worth because we had
Yep.
the first gen.
I had they'd be worth thousands.
I had
Yeah.
first gen Transformers.
Nice.
Oh my
those
God.
Are, those
And-
are worth
and
a lot.
Those
too.
were donated to the church daycare.
Yep.
See, and I gave my cards away to my neighbor across the street, and I have no idea what he did with
I
them.
gave mine to Hunter, and then me and Hunter and Jared went to try to see if we could find them somewhere. And we think Hunter's parents, like after he got older and like they cleaned
Pitched
stuff up-
them?
Yeah, we think they pitched them because like he couldn't find them in his closet anymore. And Dave
Oh,
and Sharon
my
were like, we don't
gosh.
know. But yeah, because me and Hunter and Jared were like, whoa, that'd be awesome if we could find those. But
Yep.
yeah, they're gone.
I mean that's the crazy part about it is like just like with the gargoyles thing. I'll think back on something as random as that, and then I'll be like, oh, and then I start thinking of a litany of things.
Yeah.
And I mean, even from the simplest, like I remember before, obviously iPods were a thing because those weren't around until the 2000s. Like we had portable CD players, and I remember having to pick
Discman.
like
Oh yeah.
you had to pick your
Well, I had
your
the,
favorite CDs.
I had the cassette.
Oh, you had the
I had a
Walkman.
I had a Walkman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before I had the
That's
Discman.
true.
I had the waterproof one.
Oh, nice.
The first Walkman I got was the yellow
Yeah.
Sport, the Walkman
Yep.
Sport, and it was water resistant.
I remember getting cassettes at like yard sales. I got a Michael Jackson Bad album
Nice.
cassette, and it was the double side. Man, I remember every song on that. I played it all the time, just because I'm like, oh man, it was fantastic.
I had the Karate Kid soundtrack
Nice.
on cassette.
Are you
That was
serious?
the one cassette that I probably wore out.
See, I
wore
had
out.
the I think I've talked about it on here before, but the Power Rangers movie
Oh, I had that.
wore that out on VHS to the point where it ate the tape.
I did that with a couple. I did that with the Great Mouse Detective. Me and my sister did with Disney. We used to love that. And then A New Hope, Star Wars. Like I broke that one watching it so much.
Of course, the old classic consoles, Sega Genesis.
I still have my Dreamcast.
I envy you on
with
that
the memory cards are like
Nice.
Tamagotchis.
Well, I have,
Oh,
yeah.
Tamagotchis,
They
man!
had
Even
the-
those,
they had
I
the
remember
screen
those.
on.
Yeah.
I had every Game Boy. I had the original Game Boy.
Yes.
Oh, the fat one, the
Yep.
old fat gray one with the
I
pink
remember having the
buttons.
fat brick because I saved. I would get an allowance at birthday money. I saved and bought the original Game Boy with Pokemon Red.
Yep.
And it was amazing.
I remember my brother had
Well,
the
wait,
old
the
one.
original Game Boy wasn't even in color, so
Yeah, no.
the Pokemon games wouldn't have been on that one.
Yeah,
Oh,
they were.
Yeah, they weren't in color.
Red
Are
and
you
blue
sure?
came out on the
Yep.
original Game Boy.
Yeah, red and blue were never in
Really?
color.
Gold
Yeah.
and silver were the first color ones.
Yep.
Okay. I
And
didn't
here's
know
the
that.
funny thing, and this was weird.
It didn't have a backlight either. I ended up
Yeah,
buying.
you had to
I bought this thing that like went over the screen.
Yes.
and it had a
Magnified it.
magnifying glass
Yep.
and it had two lights
Yeah.
in it.
Oh, we had all of that. We did the original and the Game Boy Color. They had the same thing where you had
Yep.
like the magnifying
Yep.
and the link cables.
Well, I was gonna say the funny thing about the old fat Game Boy. I remember my parents. I started playing blue version because I
Yeah.
got it from my cousin, who he picked it up and was like, "Yeah, if you want it, go ahead and take it." So I started playing it, and that was
Nice.
what got me hooked. And they wouldn't buy batteries for it because I kept eating the batteries. So they found this old DC charger that plugged into the side, and I swear to you, that thing probably was not rated for the Game Boy because
it
when you
worked,
turned it
didn't it?
on, the screen lit up.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like you could tell every
Yeah.
detail of every pixel on that screen. But I remember too putting red and blue in the Game Boy Color when I got it, and everybody attested to this at the time that it had a blue or a red tint
yeah.
depending on which one you. Now I don't know if that was just rumor.
No, they did. You could actually, if you hit, I think it was the select button, you could cycle through colors on the Game Boy Color on some of the older Game Boy games.
What?
They were
I
just,
don't remember
They were
that.
just a plain color palette, but you could kind of cycle through, and it would just be like
I don't remember
orange
that.
or
I never
red,
played
yeah.
Pokemon, so I don't remember that.
Yeah, it was
But
really cool.
I was with you. I remember the first one I saved up for was the Game Boy Advance.
yeah.
I ended up selling like 4 or 5 Game Boy Color games.
Yeah.
I got to like the $70 threshold, and I needed to get to like 100.
Yeah.
And I remember like I kept calling well at the time I think it was either Funko Land
Oh yeah.
or
Game
Force.
Factor.
or Game Force.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or Game Factor. That's
Well, they had
yeah.
both Game Force, and then it became Game
Or actually, it was
Factor.
before EB got bought out.
Yeah.
It was EB Games before GameStop bought them, and I kept
Yeah.
calling them like literally, I'd go and grab a game, and then I'd call them and be like, "What's the in-store credit for this?" And they'd tell me, and then I'd hang up, and I'd be like, I could sell that game too. So I'd pick it out. I'd be like, "What's the in-store credit?" I called them like 5 times.
They're probably like, this kid just needs to like find
Yeah.
all his games and just.
Well, it was over once they told me what the GameStop number was.
Yeah.
I just kept calling them, and they told me they were nice.
Yeah.
And so like I walked up there.
Customer service back then wasn't complete shit. So.
Well,
That's true. That is true.
honestly, hey, I champion gamers.
They were thrilled to get your money back then.
Yeah.
Now
Well,
they
and if
just don't care.
gamers, if there's one community you can count on having psyched for enthusiasm for other people,
Yeah.
it's gamers.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
If
yeah.
you're excited about a game, they will get.
I
jump in that loop
I
with you.
realized that going to that store up on Outer Loop.
Oh yeah.
I forgot what it's called.
It's a Game
All
Factor. Or, no, it's
No.
Game Exchange.
Game Exchange.
Yeah, yeah.
Exchange is what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, you go in there as a 38-year-old man, doesn't know anything about half the stuff in there.
They love
and
it.
it's like, oh, they loved it. They were just like, so what cards does your son have? What Pokemon does he have? I don't know. Just
give me a good one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just give me 2 of them you think are good for
Yeah.
under $20, and
Yeah.
they oh yeah, he'll love this, and he did.
He did. See,
Yeah,
he followed their
he
advice.
did. I followed their advice.
My parents have done the
But,
same thing
yeah.
when they buy my niece Switch games.
Yeah.
And I know they get on Amazon, they just read reviews and they're like, "Oh, she'll like this," and she does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She always likes the games.
Yeah.
But it's like I
I
were.
remember.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just say I remember getting the game because we both I think around the same time. I don't remember got the Game Boy Advance and got they had remade Zelda, Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past
Yes.
for Game Boy Advance,
Mhm.
and they had put 4 swords with it, and you could do a link cable and play.
I remember
because
ah.
4 swords was multiplayer. So yeah, we did that a lot. I mean, I loved that. So
Yeah.
It
Now,
well, and
what
it
about
was
your
a
first-
cooperative game. So
What
it
about
was
your
awesome.
first computer?
Oh, I remember that in the 90s, being fascinated because when my parents finally got like a PC, and then they got internet, and I just remember getting on and because Nickelodeon and all them had like
Yep,
those, like,
the
flash,
games.
they had the
Yep.
flash games, so I'd just be on there I remember trying to like the first thing I ever tried to play. Was like a Digimon game from like Fox Kids or whatever, and like just dial up and then like everything just waiting, like you like wait 20 minutes for this online game to load. That was just this simple little flash.
That was the
game.
thing. It took freaking forever.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And I remember getting online with my brother and my sister. I remember just getting online like for the first time. And it was like just getting into it was a hassle.
America Online.
And then like even just getting into some, and like I was the same way. It was like, I don't know what to, I remember like when South Park was big, but I couldn't watch it.
Oh yeah.
I got on some website where they had made.
Well, we would have been fairly young then.
Yeah. But the funny thing was I still watched WWF.
Yeah.
When it was still WWF. And they had these like South Park figures that were all WWF wrestlers.
Oh yeah.
They had like South Parkized them.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I printed that off just because I thought it was cool. And I remember like finding it one time when I was digging through stuff, and I was like, "Why did I print this off? This was stupid." But it was because you're a kid online, and you don't know what else to look up.
Yep.
Yeah.
But my first computer was actually
You get into high school and you know exactly what you want to look at.
And it sucked on dial-up.
WhiteHouse.com. Don't go there. But I remember, my first computer. I actually was a hand-me-down, and it was like an old IBM, and it wasn't like our first family computer. That was even older, like Windows 95. But it was
a Hewlett Packard.
yeah.
Well, we had a Packard Bell,
Nice.
There you go. Yep.
which was before
HP.
HP.
Yeah, HP.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it had the speakers on the side of the screen.
Yes.
And,
The huge tower.
It was a floppy. It had the 3.5 floppy disk.
Nice. Yeah.
It did not have CD-ROM. Our second computer had CD-ROM.
Those were expensive.
Yeah.
Do you
Oh, yeah,
remember
my-
how much RAM was in your first, or hard drive space
Oh,
was in your
I
first
don't. I know
computer?
hard drive space. It was 256 megabytes.
Yeah.
Was something maybe less than that.
No, it is crazy.
Before that, we had a Commodore 64 that my dad bought. I don't even remember where he bought it. It wasn't new. But then we got the Packard Bell, and it had some cool stuff. My Uncle Clay talked my dad into buying one of those. It was like $2,000. And it was supposed to be educational. And so there was some cool interactive stuff on that. But after that, we bought a Compaq. And that was the first one that I was able to actually play games on. And I got Mech Warrior.
Oh,
That was the game that I just spent countless hours in the basement playing Mech Warrior.
Yep.
With the actual joystick and stuff.
Oh yes.
And it was legit.
Even that, the peripherals. Like I remember there was like a dinky game controller. Of course, every third party in the world made them.
Oh, yeah.
But then even the joysticks, and it was just a hassle to even get them to work with the computer.
Oh, yeah.
At that time, because nothing was plug and play.
Nope.
It was like you
install
had
drivers
yes.
for everything.
And of course, you're dealing with you don't know how to do it, but then your parents don't, and then they're trying to figure it out, and then you're growing impatient.
Yeah.
And I remember playing Riven.
Oh yeah.
Riven was
Riven.
the first game
Yep.
I remember playing
I
on a
remember your brother
computer.
playing Myst and everything.
Well, I was going to say, the copy they got of Riven was for Christmas, and it was there was something wrong with the copy, and they took it back. And we ended up taking it back to the store, and we got Myst, which we didn't even know was the first in the series.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I got hooked on Myst.
Yep.
And that was
You had
amazing.
That Windows 3D movie maker as well.
Yeah, McZ.
Oh God.
Oh, if you look up on YouTube, McZ,
Yeah.
Windows 95, it'll pop up.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember it was all these terrible cartoon characters.
I had Marvel Movie Maker. That's
Oh.
what I had, and it was Spider-Man stuff. So you could take Spider-Man and then draw a line from his hand to the edge of the screen, and then when you hit play, it would look like he was shooting a web.
Yes.
And it had sound effects and
That's
all
kind
the
of what
villains
this
and
was,
stuff.
but it was
pretty
just
cool.
these generic characters that you.
Oh, they were awful,
and they
they had
set
these
pieces and
backs.
sceneries.
Yeah, and it was you could pick and you could move them where they would walk, and it was all just click and drag, so it took forever.
Yeah.
I mean, you could get really ingenious with it.
Yeah.
But I remember one time I even asked, I wanted to make this horror one, and I said I had the generic killer looking crazed maniac or something, and I was like, hey, I want him to say, oh no, it's Michael Myers. I was like, how do you spell Michael Myers? And so my brother and sister, of course, to, play a joke on me, were like, oh, it's MICKEYMOUSE. And so you got this killer running over. He's like, oh, no, it's Mickey Mouse. And I didn't know at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were always terrorizing me.
Wow.
That freaking thing, though, yeah, I love that. That takes me back.
Yeah.
But my first real legitimate computer that I bought was my iMac.
Yeah.
And that was it was 2007.
Wow.
And I worked all freaking summer to pay for that.
Yeah, my MacBook in 2010 was like, I think the first one I personally bought. Yeah.
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 And that's what's even more insane, because like you were at $2,000 back in the 90s, which was a heck of a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
But, pay $2,000 now and you get a heck of a lot more.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it just shows you the ridiculous evolution of just technology in general.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, just the tech in this room. I mean, in your pocket.
It's
I mean,
amazing.
you got an iPhone in your pocket, and it's crazy.
Well, my first cell phone was was the Nokia brick, and then I think after that finally died, I got a Razor.
The Razor was mine.
Mm-hmm.
I had this little like silver. I don't remember what it was. Just compact. I think it was an LG, like just little compact, like whatever.
Yeah, a flip
Yeah,
phone.
yeah,
But
flip
I
phone.
remember seeing that, because
Yeah.
you could still take pictures with it and stuff, couldn't you? Did it have a
Did
camera?
it have a camera?
I mean, it like maybe like a 2 megapixel. Like I don't know.
Oh yeah, no.
it
The
was-
Razor was the same
yeah.
way. The camera on it was god
Terrible.
awful.
Yeah.
But it had the
Yeah.
sleekest design.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah. It was
yeah.
And
sweet.
I remember my
black
brother
one.
getting it, and I was like, "Oh man, I
Yeah.
want that." My parents.
I'm pretty sure it had a camera, but yeah, I mean, it was garbage.
And I remember just texting on those things.
Mhm.
Like people got into T9 was a thing, and T9 was like it was basically like learning how to, almost like a stenographer,
Yeah.
short text. But I always just clicked through the numbers
Yep.
and get to. But it took freaking forever.
Yep.
And I remember going over on my text messages, because my parents they were like they got super pissed at me because they cost like 10 cents
Yeah.
Yeah.
to receive and send.
Yeah.
And they
You
finally
only
got
like 200 of them.
Yeah.
On your plan.
and then if I went over 200, they got pissed.
Oh, yeah.
And they were like, "You're paying for that. It costs us $50
Why
extra
can't you
dollars."
just call somebody?
Because I'm in
Cheaper to
school.
call somebody.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that was the other thing too, is was it evening? Yeah, nights and weekends.
Yeah,
were a
Free
thing.
nights and weekends.
Yeah, that was a thing.
Yep.
And
It is crazy.
freaking instant messenger,
It's like now people have like unlimited text, unlimited
Yeah.
talk, unlimited. But it's like back then
unlimited
you had to pay.
data. I mean,
Yeah.
you can just
You had
start
to
There
pay.
paying.
wasn't any data back then.
None.
No.
Like the web
Oh,
browser
man.
that you did have, it's like,
no web browser on.
The
I remember
Razor
it
had a web browser. on
Yeah,
it.
but
I
it was
mean,
very
I
bad.
But
had-
yeah. No.
It's like I had one of them. Like I never had the Razor, but I had one of the slide up with the
Yep.
keyboards.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
it had a web
The
browser too,
Sidekick.
but it wasn't worth crap.
Yeah, the iPhone just came out
It
in
blew
07,
everything
and I was
away.
like,
Yep.
that was insane.
Yep.
That
I
was
had the first
ridiculous.
iPhone,
Yeah,
and
nobody had
that,
ever
I
seen
never
anything
went
like
back
that.
after that.
Yep.
I had an iPhone every time after that.
No, it truly did. It revolutionized everything.
I mean, they even
changed
had like
everything.
touchscreen phones before the iPhone, and they were garbage.
They were.
They were awful.
Well, and it was funny because I even remember Steve Jobs saying, "We believe we have a model that's 5 years ahead of any other phone."
Yeah.
And it was almost 5 years later that you even had something comparable
Yeah.
to the like the Samsung Galaxy.
Now, did either of you ever have a PDA?
No.
No,
I
like
did.
a BlackBerry or
I,
something.
no. I'm talking about a pocket computer, like with the stylus.
Oh no,
No. I didn't know
I,
if you-
I had an HP PDA, is what they
Nice.
called them back
Wow.
Yeah.
then. And it was about it was bigger than the iPhone.
Yeah.
Much thicker, and then it had like a full size stylus. But the stylus, you couldn't write with it.
Right.
All you could do is touch the screen with it.
Stupid.
And that's basically all it was good for. It had, maybe 25 or 50 megabytes of storage on it. Like you couldn't do anything with it. I
Yeah.
wish I still had it. It'd be kind of fun to play
Yeah,
with.
I knew a few people. I remember, I think Michelle Adams at church. She had I don't know if it was the PDA or the Palm Pilot, but she had something
Yeah,
like
yeah.
like that.
Palm Pilot was first, and then I think they started HP and another brand. I can't remember the name of that brand. They started making.
And then I'm sure he did. I don't have to guess, but I'm pretty sure Rick Singleton also.
Oh, he had. It was because of his that I got one. Yeah.
Well, because it was like the whole like business. Hey, get your email on the go.
Yeah.
And like staying connected.
You know.
It was the whole like business oriented motivation.
I just had one because I thought it was cool.
It's cool. Yeah.
Which and I remember
I spent stupid money on it.
Yeah.
People also used to have pagers. I never owned one.
I never
yeah.
had a pager. No.
I wanted one.
My uncles all had pagers. Yeah.
But it was funny because it's like I remember when the iPhone first came out and people were talking about how it wasn't a great business machine or a great business, and it was like within years, it's like that's all that's. I mean, smartphones are all that it's used, but especially the iPhone.
Yep.
It's like, of course, it became the way to do business.
Yep.
No doubt. But no, it's just, man, so many good tech to go back on. I'm sure there will be plenty more that we'll remember right after the show is finished, but that's a discussion for another time.
How about your first camera, real quick?
Oh, the Canon Allura 80. That's
He
sad.
remembers that one.
I remember.
Yeah.
Actually, if you really want to be, that was the first one I bought.
Yeah.
The first one that I actually used was the Sony Handycam 8mm.
Yeah.
And my dad had bought it in the early 90s. The image quality is terrible. It was like 320 pixels by like 240.
Flip over to that real quick.
Oh, is that the?
That's the
Nice.
pocket computer that I
Look at that.
Yeah.
Oh, it even has like the little scroll.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And it had Windows on it. It was like Windows CE or
Yes.
Windows Pocket or something weird like that on it.
But it was like a portable version of Windows
Yep.
before obviously Windows Phone.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
faded.
Dell made another one that was very similar like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dell and HP were like the only two that made them other than Palm Pilot.
Man, I still have. Well, and it's funny because I still have I don't have my iPod Nano anymore, but I still have an old iPod Shuffle,
Oh, I do have
and I have still do have my GBA that I bought, my old Game Boy Advance.
Or I had not the Nano. I had the first iPod Mini. That I still
Oh,
have.
Yeah. Are you talking about the one that had the lanyard?
I don't remember mine coming with.
Oh no, that was the
lanyard.
iPod Shuffle.
Yeah,
the iPod Shuffle.
It was just
The mini.
rectangular and
I
yeah,
gotcha,
yeah.
and it had a screen on it that you could.
Yeah, it
Still had a scroll
It
wheel,
still had the
too.
scroll wheel
Yeah.
because it came out before the Shuffle.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it still had. That was the first iPod I ever owned. Was their first.
It was the fat
or not
thick
Mini,
one.
Nano. Was it called? I think
No,
it was
well,
Nano.
there were two. The Nano, they had two versions of the Nano. Well, they had a bunch of them, but the ones that were the main ones were the ones that had a glossy metal back that got fingerprints all over it. It was the first tiny. The iPod Mini was the first, I would say,
I
minuscule
had
edition.
the Nano. I had the first Nano Gen 1.
Tone it up.
But
Yeah.
mine was white.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Or
we had
show
one
it
of
up.
those.
Show it up to the
Well,
camera.
I don't have an image. Hold on. Because that was just eBay stuff.
But it was like there was the iPod Nano that came after the iPod Mini. The
Yeah.
iPod Mini was like a fatter but smaller version of the original iPod. And then it
This
added
is the
like
exact one I had.
Amelia still has the little one that clips on
the Shuffle.
the
Yeah.
shuffle
That was
with
it.
the screen though. She has the one that has the screen.
Oh no, that was a Nano.
Yeah,
that was the
was-
evolution of the Nano.
That was the that was the one I owned. Was that white? Like
See,
exactly
and
like
then
that.
they made
I
the-
still have that in my house.
Neil,
somewhere.
I don't know if he sold it or not, but he used to
'Cause
have.
I remember when they did.
we had the red
colors.
one. Amelia.
well, I was
had
gonna
the
say
red
that
one.
was the all aluminum design.
Yeah.
and that was
Amelia
the ones
has
I
that
got. I actually got a free one when I bought my iMac.
Neil had the
Yeah.
big one, the brick one, had like 200 something
Yeah.
gigabytes.
You got
or
one of
whatever.
those
I have.
Keith,
I still
yeah.
have
Yeah.
that one. As
The
well.
video, iPod Video.
No, it wasn't called the iPod Video.
Well,
it was the iPod Classic.
Yeah, it
that's
was just
it.
an iPod.
That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
But you could play videos on
Yeah,
it.
Yeah.
I had that, and it had like 250.
Every time I think about the play of the video on the iPod, I always go
It's
back to.
sad.
I go back to Ben Stiller in Tropic Thunder.
Yes.
When he's out in the forest underneath the palm branches, and he's watching this movie on this tiny little iPod screen.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then he kills a panda.
I did the.
I love it.
I had Lord of the Rings on my iPod
man.
Classic, like because I
Yeah.
would watch it on trips on this little bitty
Oh,
screen.
dude,
like, yeah.
one of my
Yeah.
like all-time favorite Christmas presents ever I got was the Sony PSP.
Yeah.
And that was
yeah.
before the iPhone came out. That came out in,
didn't
I
have
think,
a PSP.
04,
I did have
05.
the Vita.
The Vita, yeah.
But man, the PSP, I freaking not only played the heck out of that, that was my multimedia device.
Yeah.
Because it was even before I got an iPod.
Well, they made
And
movies on the little
the UMD disc.
Disc,
And
yeah.
I remember even putting that
You
was
had
when I kind of got
Bill and
into
Ted, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah.
I bought Bill and Ted's she
Bogus.
knows. She knows what time it is. But it's like, I bought Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. And then I also downloaded, it was the first time I started downloading using LimeWire.
Oh, yeah.
And I got
LimeWire was great.
episode 3,
I had
Revenge of the
Napster.
Sith. And I put that on there. And I also had like all of my music. I started using my PSP to carry, like, I'd have the headphones. They had like, it was weird. They had this cool like adapter that you plug into the PSP that tethered off, and it had like the play button, skip next, and all that stuff, pause, and then you plug your headphones into it. So you could literally put your PSP in your pocket, control what you wanted with the little mini controller, and then listen. I was, oh man,
I remember,
freaking use that thing all the time.
Neither of us ever had it, but I do remember you had wanted it. Was the Sega Game Gear?
Oh yes,
Before we got Game
because it
Boys
was
and
like the
everything.
first like portable game
Yeah.
system in
Yep.
color.
Yeah.
But it took like 6 AA's and only lasted like 2 hours.
Yeah,
And my dad was like, "No, you're not getting that."
it didn't last.
I never had one. My neighbor got one of those, and the only 2 games that we ever played on it were The Lion King and Aladdin. That was
Yep.
like their no, it was Prince of Persia.
Oh,
It was a
okay,
Prince
yeah,
of Persia
yeah.
game
I wanted the Sonic
and
game
Lion King.
Yeah.
on there so bad, but Lion King
And
would've
and
been-
Sonic, of course, like it came with Sonic.
Game
Yeah.
Gear kind
But-
of did like the Zune. It's like Game Boy came out and it was just
Yeah, and that was the thing. Even though it was smaller, it was like it was
Never
more
had a
portable and
Sega
2 AA
Saturn.
batteries.
Never had that.
Yeah,
I always wanted a Sega Saturn.
oh yeah,
I didn't want that.
I wanted
I
the
was
3DO.
I wanted the Dreamcast.
yeah.
Yeah.
And my parents got us a PlayStation, and since then
They
I've
did
been
the
a
smarter
Yeah.
choice.
Yeah.
They did.
Hey, the Dreamcast looked better than anything
Oh, the
when it came
Dreamcast
out.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it was the first gaming console with a
Yeah.
modem.
Yeah,
It
it was the
was.
first online console.
Fantasy
Yeah.
Star Online.
Yep.
Man. Yeah,
And
Ready to Rumble boxing.
It had
Code Veronica.
Sonic Adventure.
yeah.
Oh gosh, there was Soul Calibur.
Oh
Was
yeah,
Oh.
Soul Calibur.
fantastic.
My
Yes.
brother had a Dreamcast with Soul Calibur, and it was so much fun.
Yeah.
There were so many good games on the Dreamcast. That I mean, Shamu launched 1 and 2. Yeah,
Yeah.
Shenmue.
Shenmue. I thought you
Shenmue.
said Shamu.
Yeah, he
Shamu
said-
Shamu
I
the
was
whale.
What?
He said
There was a whale
I
game?
did
He
say
said, He
Shamu.
said Shamu,
Shamu.
and I was like, not
What?
Shamu, Shenmue. Yeah,
Shenmue.
1 and 2.
You know, in Japanese culture, those syllables make a difference.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man,
Shamu.
I was like-
actually, they did have that
they
weird
had
dolphin
Echo the
game.
Dolphin.
I was
yeah.
gonna say
Echo the but that was
Oh,
on the
Echo,
Sega
yeah,
Genesis,
yeah.
because it had that weird.
You,
no,
you jumped and got the rings just like Sonic.
well, then they also
Wasn't it?
had this weird Fishman game. It was like a fish that had the face of a man on it, and you had
Oh, I
a
know what
speaker
you're talking
or a
about. You
microphone
had to
that
talk
came.
to, that was on Dreamcast.
Yeah,
'cause
it-
Echo was on Sega Genesis. But
Huh.
yeah, it was.
well,
you
they
could
came
talk
out
to
with a
them.
3D version
I
of
think
Echo.
they did. Yeah. But yeah, there was. I don't remember what that's called.
I
'cause
think it's
remember
called Fishman.
X-Play like
Fishman.
reviewed it and it was like bizarre.
It's like you
I
talk
missed-
to this fish guy through a microphone on the Dreamcast
And that's
controller.
something that I do
What?
miss is
and
X-Play.
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 Dude, Tech TV back
Tech
in the
TV.
day. Call for
Before
call
G-
for help.
Before
for help.
G4 ruined it.
Yeah, screensavers.
Yes.
Oh, I love
Yes.
screensavers. And they did. They had like Morgan Webb, and they had the
Adam
girls that
Sessler
were
and- oh,
Adam
you're talking
Adam
Sessler.
Sessler.
Oh yeah, because
He was
Kristen
cool
Holt.
once.
Yeah.
He's not cool anymore.
He's still doing the
Who was
same
the
thing.
old
Yeah.
guy that was on Screensavers? I can't think of his name.
Leo Laporte.
Yes,
Yeah.
I loved him.
Leo.
I
He
loved
does.
him.
He's got his own. It's called Twitch. I think it's called Twitch
Well, they're
or
all
Twit.
of-
Twit. Technology. It's TWIT. If you
Yeah.
look it up,
Okay.
he does like a podcast, daily podcast.
Okay.
He's
they-
awesome. It's fantastic.
Yeah, well, Adam Sessler still does the game review.
Well, they
Like, they're all
relaunched
still-
G4 TV.
They did, yeah,
on,
so,
on YouTube.
So
yeah.
they're doing, because they brought X-Play back, and I think Attack of the Show. But
Well, it's called Attack of the something now.
Yeah,
it's not
yeah.
show anymore. It's like Attack of the. Nah, it's not web.
but I mean, all Attack of the Show was a worse version of the screensavers. So
Yeah,
it
yeah.
yeah.
Well, it ended up becoming like Kevin Pereira, and that was honestly
that's I couldn't think of his name.
Olivia Munn.
Olivia
That's where
freaking
she got
Munn.
her
Oh
That's where
start.
she
my
got her
gosh.
start. Yeah.
And it
I
was.
just
It
remember them
became
shooting
nerd
hot
culture.
dogs
Yep.
at her face. it's like this is what nerds want to see.
Yes.
A hot girl trying to catch hot dogs in her mouth.
I mean, come on. That's exactly what it was.
It stopped becoming about tech and it just started becoming about how do we appease these nerds.
Well, that's what
Yeah.
I think is so funny. It literally was it. Yeah, it was nerd culture mixed with like a bunch of horny males.
Yeah.
Oh,
13-year-olds. That was all
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah.
I remember them doing the Game Awards when they actually weren't serious. And they would have like they weren't even like the Game Awards now, like Jeff Neely does them.
Yeah.
And he actually takes them seriously and they've become like something that's a real honor. But back in the day, they would do it, and it was just like they'd have the most ridiculous, like stupid, crazy set pieces. Like I remember one year, it was a guy dressed up as Oprah, and she was interviewing Kratos. And he came out and acted like Tom Cruise on Oprah's show and jumps on the couch. And at the end of it, he just takes out his 2 blades and just freaking stabs her. And blood starts pouring. I'm
Wouldn't that be great if that could have really happened? That would have been amazing.
But it's just I'm like, I don't know. There were so many freaking.
You get a sword and you get a sword.
yes. Oh man, but yeah, all freaking G4 Tech TV. I love that. They had this old show on there called, they had Pulse. I think it was like a cheat code gaming show.
They did, and then they
did the historian ones, Icons.
With,
That's right.
Yeah,
Kristen Holt.
Kristen Holt. Yeah. But that came after, I think, Pulse, because that was one of the later, with Attack of the Show and stuff.
It was, but I remember Icons. I loved. It was like a docu-style series, and they would focus on
doing less. Like I remember, had less tech block, and they started doing reruns of Star Trek, and then the stupid ninja thing. It's then
Ninja Warrior,
American Ninja Warrior.
Yeah,
American Ninja Warrior. Then Star Trek and Cops started showing up on there, and I'm like, this is.
What does this have to do with
nothing?
Yeah,
and that's when you knew G4 was dying.
Yeah, they were done.
It's like when they're showing reruns of Cops, it's like we're done.
They knew.
Yeah,
but we don't want to do that.
No.
So we're gonna get out while the getting's good. So write into us what your possible favorite old time tech nostalgia is. You can email us easily. Right there at the bottom of your screen, rmpodcast@redmoonproductions.com. Edie wants to.
Look,
she's trying to jump right in on that
see
email.
if she'll read it.
Look at her.
Can you read the email?
RMPodcast. I haven't made a voice for her yet.
Yeah, you got to get her a voice.
I got to get her a voice.
Edie needs a voice.
Give her a voice, people.
Free Edie.
Free Edie.
You can also check us out online at all of our social right there at the bottom of your screen. Click, like, share, and subscribe. We need all of your love.
We're going to set up a GoFundMe
for free
Edie, and all proceeds will go to Red Moon Podcast, obviously. But
to free her.
To free her,
of
course.
That's
of course.
exactly
we
what
would
we'll
not
do.
use it. She's sniffing my crotch.
Her
nose.
Well, if she was free, she would be allowed to do what she wanted.
It's
she
getting me excited.
Sniff it, yeah.
It's probably because she knows that you have a name for her deep down, like a name and a voice for her.
Now she's licking my knee. It's getting real.
Oh gosh,
we gotta go.
She did.
I think it's time to end the show.
All right, right there at the bottom of your screen, Red Moon Book, Red Moon Tweet, Red Moon Pics.
Email us
and just search for Red Moon Productions on YouTube. Like, share, subscribe. We appreciate all the support. Until next time, I'm one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian,
and.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. For more reviews, previous podcast shows, and everything Red Moon, visit our website, redmoonproductions.com. You can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for Red Moon Productions, LLC. We'll see you at the movies.